ones, ones and twos. I'm really excited to talk to you today because today I get to show you videos and photos of our beehive. Yay! I don't know if you know that I have a beehive, but we do. We have lots of bees, maybe 70,000 of them or something. Now, I'm going to do a little interview with my husband because he is actually the main beekeeper in this family. I certainly have the full suit and look the part, but he's the one that puts most of the work in. And we just got our bees last year in September. So we haven't even had them for a year yet, but we've just been learning so much about bees and they are just really cute. And I thought today's episode, you'll get to see them. And now, it's not the right time of year for bees to be in and about the place, and we don't really open it up in these cold days to see the bees, but I took a lot of videos back when it was warmer, thinking that maybe we would do this later on in the term. So all the videos you're going to see are from a few weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and even longer. Hello everyone, this is Danny.
Hi.
Hi Danny. Danny said that he'll do an interview about the bees for us, which is really good. So he's going to answer some questions. All right, Dan, first of all, who lives in our bee colony?
We've got Queen Elizabeth and her 60,000 followers.
How do you count them?
You don't, you just know roughly that's how many bees are in a strong hive.
Oh.
Yeah, so at the start of spring they've just been through winter and they don't have too many numbers, and as they start breeding up in spring you put another layer on.
Okay, so how many layers are on our hive at the moment? Two, okay.
So I just took one off a couple of weeks ago because it's coming into winter and they're reducing numbers.
Okay, so we did have three,
Yes.
now two. Will we have to go down to one this winter?
No. So from now on I won't open it all winter because it's too cold for them.
Do they still go out in winter?
A little bit. In colder climates they don't go out at all. In Melbourne they tend to go out a little bit.
And can you tell us about, I know that all the bees, they don't all have the same job in the hive, so what are the different jobs? You said about the queen, so what does she do?
Her sole purpose is to lay eggs. Everyone looks after her. There's a bunch of, well, maybe 10 bees that follow her around, feed her, groom her, do whatever they need so that she can lay eggs.
Fantastic. And how do you know that she's laying eggs? Can you see the eggs in there? Or?
You can. So quite often you won't actually be able to find the queen when you open up the hive. That's not a problem, and you just go and look to make sure there's eggs or really young grubs in there, and you know that she's been around fairly recently.
I have a couple of photos of the little grubs in the hive, so I'll put that in now so you can have a bit of a look.
You can see the brood of the varying ages.
Yeah. We have found the queen a couple of times.
Yep.
Maybe 3 or 4 times. Yeah. So you said there's some that look after her. What do the rest of the bees do when they're not looking after the queen?
So when they first hatch out, their job is to look after all the grubs and look after the hive.
Mm-hmm.
Then from that they'll graduate to looking after the nectar and honey within the hive.
Okay.
Then as they get a bit older they'll go outside and forage.
Forage. Collect berries.
Collect nectar and pollen.
Okay, so they collect nectar and pollen. And what do they do with that when they come back with it?
So the nectar goes into a cell. It's eaten up a few times, goes into their tummy and mixes with enzymes in there, and then they regurgitate it out, put it into cells. They do that a number of times, and they also fan it with their wings to dry it out, and that's how it's turned into honey.
So, bee vomit.
Yeah.
Nice. Just what you wanted to know.
and the pollen, they store that away and use it as a food source or protein source for the grubs.
Nice. Look carefully for balls of pollen stuck to the bees' back legs as they crawl into the hive. So when we take the honey out of there, are we taking away their food?
Not if you do it properly.
Okay.
They produce way more honey than what they need, but you've got to make sure that they've got enough to make it over winter. So in my hive at the moment there's 16 frames and about 8 of them are full of honey so that they have something to eat over winter when they can't collect any more food.
Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks, Danny, for doing the interview.
It's okay.
I'll go and add some photos so you can see what we're talking about. All right, see ya.
Bye.
Sometimes when you pull the frames apart, the bees hold on to each other in a chain. Have a look. Last week on Science Adventures in Legoland. 430 Whitehorse students radioed in to help Danielle and Sunny solve the mystery of why food goes off over time. These were some of the responses. Sunny and Danielle decided to go back and visit the man in the juice bar and ask him some questions about his fruit. Excuse me, juice man, we've been wondering why all your fruit looks so fresh when the banana in my school bag looked really black and fluffy.
Ah, well, all this fruit is very fresh. We have to buy it in every second day.
But what happens if you don't buy it in every second day?
Well, we have had the same problem as you, that the fruit starts to change colour and smell a bit funny, and sometimes stuff starts growing on them.
Does that happen to all fruit?
Oh yeah, mate, most fruit.
Do you know what it is that grows on them?
Yeah, do mate. You may not realise that tiny little bacteria and fungi live all over fruits and vegetables. They are so small that you can't see them. These tiny creatures are extremely good at breaking things down. After a fruit or vegetable is picked, the bacteria and fungi start to grow, eating the food and making it break down.
Is that what the fluffy stuff is?
Yeah mate, the fluffy stuff is usually fungi, and the shiny slimy bits are usually bacteria.
Is there any way to stop it?
Well, once the fruit is ripe and ready, you can put it in the fridge, which slows down the bacteria and fungi, but it won't stop them forever, mate. Eventually, all living things break down.
That's very helpful, thank you. Do you know if other food breaks down too?
Well, you might need to go and ask the cafe lady next door about that. She has other types of food over there, mate.
Sunny and Danielle made their way back to the cafe again. Sunny was eyeing off sandwiches on the top counter, while Danielle asked the lady about other types of food.
Hello again. Do you happen to know of any foods that don't go off or grow bacteria and fungi?
Well, we have lots of baking supplies here, and things like sugar and salt almost never go off. You can keep them for years in the cupboard and they are still good to use. Also, other things like jam and chutneys have lots of sugar in them, so they last a really long time. And then there are the dried out things like rice and dried peas and things which don't go off as easily because bacteria and fungi like to grow on more wet things. Maybe if I dry out my banana, it will be okay?
Sunny, I think that banana is well beyond being okay.
Oh, what about my muffin?
That too, Sunny.
And with that, the mystery was solved. Did you guess why food goes off over time? Okay, good morning, Prep 1s and 2s. It is a cold week. You might notice how cold the mornings are. So you're going to have to rug up for this walk that you're doing today. You're going to go into your garden and be a garden detective, I'm going to call it. And what happens with this is you go and you look very closely at plants around your garden. And when you're looking for things that are just a little bit out of place. For instance, you might go up to a plant and you might notice that it's got all these beautiful green leaves that are nice and flat, but then there's one leaf on that plant that's kind of curled over on itself. And maybe you can see coming out of the end of it like a little bit of web or something like that, and you think, oh, I think there's something living in there, because that's just not quite normal for this plant. Or maybe you find a plant that has a stick, and along the stick there's little things on it and it looks a bit like eggs, but it's definitely not part of the plant. So something's been there and been making something on that stick. And here's another example that I found at my house just a couple of weeks ago. I was in the front garden looking at my little bottle brush tree that I have. And normally bottle brush trees have these beautiful pointy leaves that look like this, and they're, you know, green and hard. But when I looked at my bottle brush tree, there was this whole branch where all the leaves looked like little skeleton leaves and none of the green was left. And I thought, that's not normal for my plant. Why does it look like this? And I had a close look. And look what I found. So sometimes when you look closely, you find things about creatures that have been living on the plant. They might have changed the plant somehow. They might have chewed holes through the leaf. It might be a fungus that's growing on a leaf. So this week you have to pay extra careful attention as you walk around your garden or the park. No fast walking this time. You're going to go up to a plant, slowly look at all its leaves and sticks, see if you can find some things that show that a creature's been there, changing the plant somehow, using it for themselves. I'll give you some examples now. I'm going to go take some too. Okay, I am outside looking at my capsicum plant and I can see all over the leaves, I've noticed this for a while now, there is clearly something eating our capsicum plant because there are holes in all the leaves. Now, I don't know what it is that's eating it, so I can't stop it at the moment. Here's another example. It's my passion fruit vine. Most of the leaves are beautiful and full, but then down here, can you see the holes in those? Now here I have some beetroot plants in my garden. Now beetroots normally have big, beautiful leaves, a little bit like this one, but whole. And if you look at this plant, something has been in our garden and eaten off all the top leaves. Now I don't think this is something little, because they're big leaves and all of them are gone, or most of them. I reckon it could be like a possum or something that's been in our garden here. And here I have my strawberry bush. See that strawberry there? That is not looking normal. Now I can tell this is not an insect this time. That is a type of fungus growing on the outside of the strawberry and rotting it away. This is my raspberry plant, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna eat that raspberry. And then I looked and I could see slimy stuff on it. Something has been crawling over my raspberry and leaving slime on it. It's probably a snail. I don't think I'm gonna eat it anymore. Goodness gracious me, as I was just filming the bees, my husband came over with this larva that he found in the ground. Now, I'm pretty sure it's a beetle larva, and I'll tell you how I know. Because beetles have little chewing mouth parts on the front, and you can see that on this beetle. And he's got 6 little legs at the front here. Oops, let me show you. 6, see those little black legs there? So when this larva grows up, look, I don't know for sure, but I think it's going to be a beetle of some kind. I once played a trick on my husband where I got a hole punch and punched holes in the leaves of his plant, pretending to be an insect. It didn't really fool him. Now, these little white things that you sometimes see on a leaf are called lerps, and a lerp is actually a little case made by an insect. So I put these under the microscope to show you what they look like. When you flip over that case, there's a tiny little creature underneath. It's a type of sucking bug that sucks the sap out of the leaves and then releases this white stuff which you can turn into a case. Now, interestingly, these little white lerps actually taste pretty good. Most of the time they're made out of a sugary kind of substance, and the Aboriginal people used to eat them as kind of like a lolly, I suppose, a bit of a treat. I've actually eaten them myself a couple of times. So underneath we've got these little sucking bugs, very cute little things. Birds love these as well, so you'll often see them picking them off the leaves on a tree. Hello, welcome to Who Said That? And today I have another animal for you. I'm going to play it. You have 10 seconds to guess what the animal is, then I'll tell you what it is. Okay, here's the sound for today. Okay, what animal do you think that is?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, now that you're back from your search, I hope you found some interesting things. You can learn a lot about gardens by just looking really carefully at leaves and sticks and working out what looks normal and what looks like something has been going on. You can find out about pests that eat your plants. You can find out how to get rid of those pests so that they don't eat your plants anymore. It's a very, very useful trick to have up your sleeve. So this is our final science lesson online, and next week you'll be back at school with me in the classroom and we'll be doing science there, and I can't wait to see you back in real life. We'll see you next time. Bye.